Rapido. Bonjour, ici Paul McCartney. Ici Rapido. Yo!
Rehearsing with his new band in his home studio, Paul told Rapido how the Russian album came about.
I'd been not playing much, and I wanted to play my instrument, because, you know, as a musician, you want to play. So we started having jams on Friday nights. We'd go into London and invite a few people around, just musicians, and play with them. And whenever I jammed like that, it was old rock and roll songs. So we came to the studio here for a day, and we ended up making 18 songs in a day. She's like crazy, you know, it's just mad. It's just 25 rock, it's in A. When I nod my head, it's a solo. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, bumped, and it was over. Listen, is that it? Said, yeah, it's done. No, we've got to fix it. We've got to. No, it's done. I missed the Saturday dance. I heard it clatter the floor.
The result of those jam sessions is an eclectic mix of rock and roll standards and classics like Summertime given a heavy blues treatment. The track sat around for nearly 3 years before the shifting political climate gave Paul an idea.
And then Reagan and Gorbachev started talking, and Glasnost started happening around about that time. And I talked to my manager. I said it might be a good idea to release it just exclusively in Russia, because they always get things last. It may be good to give them something first that everyone else hasn't got, as a Glasnost, as a friendly gesture. So I wrote on the album cover, the hand of friendship, and Russian people, and peace, and all this, which I'm interested in.
Once upon a long ago, children searched for treasure.
私はポール・マッカートニーのものに関する収集家として日本一に違いありません。この20年、ビートルズ、ウィングス、ポール・マッカートニーの品々を集めることに人生を捧げてきました。そしてこれが最新の取得物。
My brave, my brave, my brave
The Russian album has already become sought-after McCartney memorabilia in the West, changing hands for up to £250 a time. You might have more luck getting hold of a copy of the new single, My Brave Face. The song's taken from Paul's forthcoming album, which will be released in early June. It's called Flowers in the Dirt.
It's one of the lyrics out of the songs. One of the songs on the album's called That Day Is Done. And I wrote it with, co-wrote it with Elvis Costello. And in the song it says, she sprinkles flowers in the dirt. So it was selected. That's a kind of double meaning thing, flowers, dirt. I think really the main thing we wanted it to reflect was kind of like an ecological thing, without being too overt. I mean, we were thinking of calling the album Unscrew the World. The song itself is just about someone who, for the first time in his life, has been left to cope on his own. And his girl or his wife, his female, has gone away. And he gets to a place where he can't find his brave face. And he's not used to the work of a housewife, so he ends up breaking dirty dishes. I mean, you know, you just must make whatever sense you want to make of it. It doesn't make much sense to me.
As well as the 4 songs they co-wrote for Flowers in the Dirt, McCartney and Elvis Costello collaborated on 2 songs for Spike, Elvis's latest album, including the single Veronica. How did Paul get on with Pop's Mr. Angry?
I didn't find him hard to work with. I found him really easy to work with. But his reputation is kind of hard to work with. That's the thing, you know, a lot of people have got reputations that aren't necessarily true. And If you read some of the books on me, you know, it's like I'm a megalomaniac, you know, just out to rule the world, you know. But as you can see, I'm not. I'm just some guy in rehearsal, you know, and we're out to tour the world, not rule it.
Rapido.
Even when the Beatles were no more than a twinkle in Michael Jackson's eye, they were raising the roof at the Cavern with a sound inspired directly by their mentors, the original rock and roll pioneers.
Yeah, you know, I just like those people, because when I was teenage, that's was who was going around. You know, the 50s people, Elvis, Carl Perkins, Little Richard, Fats Domino, Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, Crickets, Buddy Holly, Johnny Cash, Dwayne Eddy.
When I love, I get the feeling like I'm traveling.
Another influence on the Beatles' vocal style were the harmonies of the Everly Brothers. Paul repaid that old debt when he wrote them a hit, their first for 2 decades.
I'm a fan of a lot of old rock and roll singers, and Everly Brothers, when we were teenagers, the Everly Brothers were like really huge, and everyone's had a really good feeling for them. You like records like Dream and Bye Bye Love and things. So they were making a new album. They were doing it with Dave Edmunds. And he asked if I had any songs. And I didn't really, but I said I'll write one, because I admire him so much, you know. So we did On the Wings of a Nightingale, and I thought they did it good.
Don't tell me that love hurts. I read the book, I saw the movie, got the t-shirt.
Having acquired Buddy Holly's publishing company some 15 years ago, Paul maintained strong ties with Holly's band, the Crickets, who, years before, inspired the Beatles' own choice of name.
The very star that you'd come back with a broken heart.
We had a song contest in Britain for Buddy Holly Week, and the contest was to write a song. And some guy wrote this song called T-Shirt, and the Crickets recorded it, and I produced it, and they did it in one take.
Lord, the white boy had the rhythm, and that started rock and roll, and I was here when it happened. Don't y'all think I ought to know?
Carl Perkins, who wrote Blue Suede Shoes, is another member of rock and roll's original cast who's since returned the compliment, duetting with Paul on his Tug of War album.
It's great. He's a great guy. He came out to Montserrat, beautiful Caribbean island, and he came out at night, and then he woke up in the morning and he saw the beautiful island. He said, Paul, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. So we did the duet together. It was nice. I'm a big fan of his, you know, from way back.
There's a new moon over Jamaica.
Johnny Cash, whose country sound always had a strong rockabilly flavour, welcomed Paul's contribution on his latest album.
We were on holiday in Jamaica, and he's got a house there. And so we went to dinner with him. And he was there with Tom T. Hall, the country writer. And he said, let's write a song, Paul. And there's a peacock in the distance. So I said, yeah, who am I to refuse? So we wrote one, and it's on his new album called Water from the Wells of Home.